Good morning and welcome to the webinar. We have quite a few attendees still in the process of joining the session. We'll go ahead and give them a few more moments and then we'll get started shortly. Thank you for your patience. Well, again, good morning or afternoon. My name is Gabe Viola. I welcome you to the webinar on CMS Medicare Part C Plan Reporting Changes for 2016, sponsored by Innovair. Today's presentation will run about 30 minutes or so, allowing for questions at the very end. We'll put all the phones on mute throughout the presentation, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them on the chat box. That's usually located on the bottom right part of your screen. Or if you'd rather send your questions by email, please send them to info@innovair.com, and that's info@inovaare.com. If you submit a question for us today and we don't have time to answer during the short webinar, we'll make sure to respond quickly after the webinar is over. Actually, within the next day or so, you'll receive your answers. So with that said, let's go ahead and get going. I will actually be your, I'll actually lead the discussion today. Again, my name is Gabriel Viola. I've been working in the industry, as my joke would go, longer than sin, for a very long time anyway. And lately, for the past 12 years or so, I've been focusing on the government programs, mainly the Medicare and Medicaid, or Medi-Cal here in California, programs. Anyway, enough about me. With that said, why don't we go ahead and get started. We'll again want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us on this webinar. I hope the information we provide is of value and helps you in your preparations for your reporting and your compliance. We'll be going over portions of the CMS Medicare Part C plan reporting requirements, tech spec doc. That's a long thing to say. For contract year 2016. It was released April 22nd, and it's effective January 1st, 2016. Our focus is mainly going to be on the grievance and organization determination and reconsideration sections for Part C reporting. Innovair is a specializes in appeals and grievances and compliance, so that is what we'll be focusing on today. Though I won't be covering all the changes, we will focus on quickly touching on the reports that have been suspended, changes to the Part C org determination and reconsideration reports, as well as the grievance reports, and a quick review of a few of the additional guidances CMS provided, in particular making sure the math adds up. It's always funny how quickly things like that can go awry on you. All right. So what reports are suspended? Actually, this year, no additional reports were suspended. I know that the changes to the reports that took place earlier. However, over the past few months, we've been receiving a few questions or comments from clients of ours about the reports. So I felt it would be appropriate to go over it since we're going over this topic anyway. As a recap, as of 2015, the following reports have been suspended. The benefit utilization report, the section 2, procedure frequencies. The serious reportable adverse events was suspended for 2014 and 15, and they're working on getting this data off of the encounter information. And I don't know about you guys, but personally for me, that was great news, because when I had operations, it was always difficult for us to gather this information the way that it was required. Also suspended will be the provider network adequacy, agent compensation structure, and agent training and testing. Now again, they're gathering this information through other methods, other reports that have been introduced. With that said, please don't take it as these aren't key bits of information you'll need to be aware of as you do your day-to-day operations and your planning. As always, just because it's not a formally submitted report doesn't mean CMS does not have the right to ask for the information if the need arises or they believe that there's something that they need to review for that. So individual reviews can always be requested by them. Some of the major report changes, though, that we will be look into is 3 reporting sections were updated to include additional data elements. The reporting section number 6, organizational determination reconsideration, has a few updates to it. The due dates have also changed on these. The ODAT, or Organizational Determination Report, is now due the first Monday in February. I'm sorry, the agreements and employer plan sponsors were also changed to the first Monday in February. Section 13, special needs plans, care management, has also had some modifications. And reporting section number 14, enrollments and disenrollments, the due dates have been adjusted to that. Were changed from the last Monday of, have been changed from February 28th to the last Monday of August. Again, most of you know that the original due date for these reports have been February 28th of the following year. However, with the new changes, they've varied them. Again, the grievance reports, first Monday of February in the fall of the following year. Organization determinations, last Monday of February of the following year. Sorry about that. Special needs plans, care management was last Monday of February of the following year. Enrollment, disenrollment, due dates for enrollment, disenrollments were changed to last Monday of August and of February of the following year. Sorry about that. We're having a system issue here. All right. Wow. All right. Sorry about that again. Sponsors oversight of agents has also been changed first Monday of February of the following year as well. And I cannot get that notification to stop coming up. One moment, please. I apologize. Let me put you on mute for one moment. Again, I apologize for that. Hopefully I've got that taken care of. Again, my mistake here. So again, just to get back into this, these are some of the major changes that have taken place. In addition, 3 new reporting sections were added. A section for rewards and incentive programs, mid-year network changes, and payment to provider reporting. Section 12 had a few just minor changes to it. The plan oversight of agent was changed to sponsor oversight of agents. The data due was also changed to be the first Monday in February of the following year. So again, it's no longer the 28th. We make sure that for next year you have your calendars updated to take into account the correct dates for those. We'll take that from that perspective and go from there. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Again, we just briefly talked about that. We had questions from clients come up, so figured it was worth bringing it up. Let's go ahead and go into the Part C reporting changes affecting appeals and grievances. Actually, mainly the grievances and the operational, the determination and now, before we get started, let's go ahead and review just a couple things. I know that everybody's on different pages, but I believe it'd be a good idea to first go through and let's get the definitions right. The definition of a grievance was redefined in 2014 in the CMS Managed Care Manual as any complaint or dispute other than an organizational determination expressing dissatisfaction with the manner in which a Medicare health plan or delegated entity provides healthcare services. In addition, grievances may include complaints regarding the timeliness, appropriateness, access to, and/or setting of a provider health service procedure or item. Grievance issues may also include complaints that are covered complaints that a covered health service procedure or item during a course of treatment did not meet accepted standards for delivery of the health care. So again, in essence, a complaint or something that is reasonably not meeting what was expected. The Part C reporting grievances are defined as those grievances that are completed during the reporting period, regardless of when the request was received, and include grievances filed by the enrollee or his or her representatives. So it's not just a member filing it, the representative as well. Only those grievances processed in accordance with the CMS regulations are the ones that should be considered. Report grievances involving multiple issues under each applicable category. So again, one instance with one complaint with 2 categories. Remember, they have to count in each of those categories. And report grievances if the member is ineligible on the date of the call to the plan, but was eligible at the time that the incident happened. So just because they're no longer your member, but the issue happened while they were a member of yours, remember that does count as a grievance for you, and you have to file that on the report for the time period when that grievance was closed. Again, even if it's after the fact of their leaving you. Part C reporting changes, what are you not supposed to be reporting? Enrollee complaints only made through the CMS complaint tracking module are not to be reported. CTM complaints are addressed through a process that is separate and distinct from the plan's procedures for handling enrollee grievances. Therefore, plans should not report their CTM records to CMS in their grievance logs. Don't get hit twice for them, guys. Withdrawn grievances should not be reported. Enrollee grievances Part D processed in accordance with the grievance procedures described under the Part D portion of the plan should not be reported in your Part C reporting. Again, even though that sounds awfully obvious, you'd be amazed of how often that becomes an issue. And then again, open or pending grievance cases are not to be reported in your grievance report. They're supposed to be reported once it is completed under that time period. All right. So that was on the grievance section. Again, pretty short. Not a whole lot different than before. Pretty much just the change in the dates. Under organization determinations and reconsideration reporting. Again, there's a couple new portions of it. Also, the dates change. Now, unlike the grievances that are due earlier in the month, the organization determinations are due on the last Monday of February of the following year. And it still requires a breakdown by quarter. So again, just make sure, just because it's only due annually now doesn't mean you don't have to break it down for them. 2 new data elements have been introduced. The elements have obviously caused it all to be renumbered. The 2 additions are number of requests for organization determinations that are dismissals and number of requests for reconsiderations that are dismissals. These additions will fill users' needs for data on dismissals and make this reporting section more consistent with a similar reporting section in the Part D coverage determination redetermination portion for CMS. So again, a little more consistency, trying to get it all back in and around to be the same. All right. So since dismissals are being introduced, why don't we go ahead and talk about it for a moment. A dismissal is an action taken by Medicare health plan when an organizational determination or reconsideration request lacks required information or otherwise does not meet CMS requirements to be considered a valid request. Dismissals are procedural actions. The most common reasons for Medicare plan dismissals are lack of proper appointment of representatives, failure of the enrollee or other party to file a timely appeal request, a waiver of liability was not submitted with an appeal filed by a non-contract provider or for a non-contracted provider, or failure to exhaust the prior levels of adjudication. If procedural requirements for a valid request are not met, plans are to dismiss the request as opposed to performing a substantive review. The plan must follow Chapter 13 guidance, obviously, in addition to the guidance provided in the September 10, 2013 HMS memo regarding the Part C reconsideration dismissals. If you receive an organization determination reconsider request and issue a timely decision, however, the request is withdrawn, the plan would report the timely decision as well as a withdrawn request. Again, just an added note, I just jumped into that a little quickly here. But again, basic definition of a dismissal and some of the key reasons for when you enact a dismissal. Let's jump into a little more of the meat of it as we go through. Organization determinations. Okay, so what must be reported? Again, completed org determinations and reconsiderations. During the reporting period, regardless of when the request was received, you are to report organization determinations and reconsiderations where a substantive decision has been made. Again, if it's pending, if you're waiting additional information, those pieces are not supposed to be reported, and unfortunately, way too often they get included into these reports. All Part B drug claims processed and paid by the PBM are to be reported as an organizational determination or reconsideration, depending on the category. Okay. Reopenings that are in a reopening status across multiple reporting periods are to be reported in each of the applicable reporting portions. For example, if a plan reopened in org determination on March 15th and sent the notice of the revised decision on April 22nd, that case should be reported as pending in the Q1 data file and then as resolved in the Q2 data file, either as fully favorable, partially favorable, or adverse. Claims with multiple lines should be reported at the summary level. A request for payment as a separate and distinct organization determination, even if a pre-service request for that same item or service was also processed, should be included. A denial of a Medicare request for coverage of an item or service as either partially favorable or adverse, regardless of whether the Medicaid payment or provision was made in whole or in part for that item or services. So regardless of what Medicaid has paid, if the request has come in, you do need to report that aspect. Denials of Medicare, sorry, I lost my place there. A denial of a Medicare request for coverage of an item or service as either partially or favorable or adverse. You need to report denials based on exhaustion of Medicare benefits. In case where an extension is requested after the required decision-making time frame has elapsed, the plan is to report the decision as a non-timely. An example would be if you receive a standard pre-service reconsideration request on January 1st at 4 p.m., an extension is requested January 31st at 4:05 p.m., plan completed reconsideration and provides notification on February 5th. The 35-day calendar after, or 35 days calendar after receipt, these reconsideration is not considered timely for reporting as the decision was rendered more than 30 calendar days from the initial receipt. So again, just a clarification on that. And then again, you're supposed to report all dismissals on your organization determination reconsideration reports. Again, they'll be categorized as dismissals, but you do need to report them. All right. Things not to report. Decisions from the IRE. Items or reopening requests or that are completed by the IRE, administrative law judge, and Medicare administrative contractor or MAC. Concurrent reviews shouldn't be reported during hospitalizations, reviews of skilled nursing facilities, concurrent reviews of home health agency, or comprehensive outpatient rehabilitation facilities. You don't need to report duplicate payment requests concerning the same services. Payment requests returned to the provider or a supplier in whichever case, in which a substantive decision has not been made. Again, if it's going back for additional information, if you haven't had a clear decision made, those should not be reported in your organization determination reconsideration reports. Complaints that are only made through CTMs should not be reported. Obviously, if the complaint was received by you originally, you've already reported it, and then the CTM comes across, obviously you're not going to go back and correct it. But if the complaint comes to you strictly through a CTM, those cases should not be reported on your organization determinations and reconsideration reports. Okay. And just a note that they place on the note that they've placed is, for purposes of this current reporting effort, plans are not required to distinguish between standard and expedited organization determinations or standard and expedited reconsiderations. So again, in the universe that you're providing, you don't have to make that delineation for them. we'll take a few moments and talk about some of the additional guidances that they've provided this last go-around. Again, just to be clear, we're not going over everything that has changed. We're just going over the ones that have the Part C organization determinations and the grievance portions. A few additional guidances that CMS has provided is if a plan receives an organization determination or reconsideration request and issues a timely decision, however, the request is eventually withdrawn, the plan would report the timely decision as well as the withdrawn request. Again, you don't want to penalize yourself for getting that timely decision made. If a plan receives an organization determination and the request is withdrawn prior to a decision being issued, the plan would only report the withdrawal. You do not have to report anything else that you did or what the decision was at that point. So again, just to simplify, if you've made a decision and then they ask to withdraw it, you can report your decision and then the withdrawal. If they ask to withdraw before you're done, then you go ahead and just report the withdrawal for that. Now, a couple of the things that you would always think would be no-brainers, but have caused CMS some issues in the past. You need to make sure that you validate that the total number of grievances is equal to the sum of the total number of grievances for each of the categories, excluding expedited grievances. So again, make sure your report's cross-cut. Your total grievances should equal all the grievances by category if they were to add them up to make sure that all comes out to be the same. Again, more often than not, that has become a discrepancy in some of the reports, and they're getting very fussy about their reports and the universes submitted. Plans should also do the same thing for timely notifications. You should validate that the total number of timely notifications is equal to the sum of the total number of timely notices for each category, excluding expedited grievances. Again, total grievances and your timely notifications. Make sure that those items add up together. If an enrollee files a grievance and if an enrollee files a grievance and then files a subsequent grievance on the same issue prior to the organization determination decision or deadline for the decision notification, whichever is earlier, then the issue is counted as one grievance. Okay, you don't have, just because they put the request in twice at 2 different times doesn't mean you have to count that as 2. It does all remain as 1. We're getting a little long time here. Real quick, just wanted to give the sponsor a quick little call out. Innovair, again, provides a cloud platform that simplifies compliance and quality in operational management. Innovair offers highly configurable software. Solutions are built on a flexible and integrated platform. Innovair's A&G software provides a powerful business improvement solution that reduces costs and efforts needed to proactively manage risk, quality, and sustainability. Wow, you'd think after going through these you did it right the first time. Again, Innovair has been very gracious at giving us the opportunity to present for members. We did have a couple questions come through. I know I'm almost out of time, but I'm going to try to go ahead and get a couple of these answered. One question that was asked, let's see, let me read it here. You mentioned that only Part C benefits should be reported in the grievance report during this presentation. What if you're unsure if it's a Part D or Part C? All right, fair enough. If you're an MAPD contract, so you're doing both, if it's not clearly, if there's no clear distinction between Part C and Part D, then you're expected to report that as a Part C grievance. So I guess your default would be a Part C grievance if you're unsure whether it's a Part D or Part C. Let's grab another one real quick here. All right. I believe that you mentioned that the reports are due now on the last Monday of February. Is that true for all? Nope, I wish it were. Unfortunately, it's not true for all of them. There are some differences on the due dates. One example is the grievance report is due the first Monday of February of the following year, and the enrollment report is due on the is due in August and in February. So again, pay attention to the dates. The dates have changed. They've made it more variable. Again, they've gone to either the first Monday or the last Monday of the month of February. So again, either buying yourself a little bit more time or a little less time. I hope the information has been helpful to you. We are planning for another one on August 24th. This next webinar will be the subject matter will be delegation oversight. You know, who's watching. We have a guest speaker that'll be coming in and talking about that, how it's affected their plan, and we'll have some insight from different locations regarding that. Again, we'll be going over delegated oversight on August 24th. Other than that, that's about all the time I have today to speak to you all. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you to our audience and for joining us today. We will leave the meeting on for some time, so if you have any questions, you could send those to us. Alternatively, you could also reach us at info@innovare.com. I suggest using the info@innovare.com. That way it's clearly received. Again, I do want to say thank you very much for joining us. Hope the information was useful. Have a good afternoon.